Good morning, everyone. This is Reema Punjani from Listing Compliance Department, Financial Team. This webinar is organized for all SME companies to provide guidance on the filing of financial results in accordance with Regulation 33 of the SEBI Listing Obligations and Disclosure Requirements Regulations 2015, along with relevant SEBI Master Circulars, Exchange Circulars, and guidelines issued by the exchange from time to time. SME companies have been facing several challenges and operational queries while filing results with the stock exchange, particularly after the introduction of integrated filing financials by the exchange. This webinar aims to simplify the filing process and enhance compliance awareness for SME companies. This session will cover process for filing outcome of board meeting, that is financial results, on the NEEPS portal. Process for preparing and uploading the integrated filing financial XBRL utility on the NEEPS portal, and process for filing annual report in brief. Further, the company may raise their queries using Q&A instead of chat box. The same will address during Q&A session. Now I'll hand over the session to my colleague Daniel D'Souza. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Rima. My name is Daniel D'Souza. I am from the Listing Compliance Department, Financial Results Team at NSE. I will be explaining the process of submission of financial results by SME companies. The companies are requested to refer to the applicable regulation and circulars while preparing financial results and before submitting the same with the exchange, namely Regulation 33 of SEBI LODR regulations, Regulation 280 and 262 of SEBI ICDR regulations, the Master Circular issued by SEBI, Exchange Circulars for integrated filings issued by the exchange. As per the process, the company shall intimate the exchange with respect to the board meeting for approval of financial results. Once the financial results are approved in the board meeting, the company shall submit the outcome of board meeting PDF within 30 minutes or 3 hours from the end of the board meeting as may be applicable. Subsequently, the company shall submit the integrated filing financials in XBRL on the same day of submission of outcome of board meeting for financial results. For the purpose of this webinar, the SME companies are categorized into two types. That is, SME companies having paid up share capital beyond 25 crores and other SME companies that is paid up capital less than 25 crores. SME companies whose paid up capital increases beyond 25 crore shall submit financial results on quarterly basis, and other SME companies shall submit financial results on half-yearly basis. Before I take you through the process of submission of financial results in PDF on the NEEPS portal, there are certain mandatory details and documents which need to be considered while preparing and during the submission of financial results. The listed entity shall ensure to attach the following documents as applicable in the PDF file. The financial results in PDF form are submitted on the NEEPS portal within 30 minutes or 3 hours as may be applicable from the end of the board meeting. The profit and loss statement, statement of assets and liabilities, cash flow statement shall be submitted on standalone and consolidated basis as may be applicable. The audit report or the limited review report for standalone and consolidated financial results must be signed by the auditor, must include the UDIN, date and place of signing. The statement of impact of audit qualifications for audit reports with modified opinion and a declaration in case of an unmodified opinion. The listed entities operating in a single segment must disclose the single segment details in the note section of their financial results. The listed entities shall also disclose a balancing figure note under the note section of financial results submitted for the last quarter. The financial results are required to be submitted in a machine-readable and legible format. The company shall ensure not to submit blurred or documents which cannot be read. Further, the financial results shall be signed by the authorized signatories and should include the name, designation, and DIN. Upon login into NEEPS, the company shall select the tab Compliance and then click on Create Announcement Corporate Action tab under the Announcement Corporate Action section. Then the company shall select the intimation type as announcement. Next, the field type of disclosure shall be selected as Regulation 30 Para A from the drop-down list. Further, for the subject category and subject, the company shall select the option Outcome of Board Meeting. Then the company shall select the type as financial results. Kindly note that this selection is mandatory in case the outcome of board meeting contains financial results. Then the companies shall fill in all the mandatory details, such as whether the event information disclosed is an outcome of board meeting, date of occurrence of event, time of occurrence of event, the type of event, type of announcement, which shall be selected as new. Then the companies can attach the file. The companies are requested to attach a complete machine-readable copy, including all the documents as may be applicable. Then the companies need to scroll down on the screen, wherein the company needs to mention the period type. For SME companies, while mentioning the period type, they shall submit it on select first half, second half, and annual. Whereas SME companies whose paid up share capital is beyond 25 crores, while selecting the period type, they shall select first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Further, there are other details such as the board meeting start time, end time, which need to be mentioned in 24-hour format, the quarter ended date. The companies here can use the search tool to make an appropriate selection of the quarter end date. Then the company shall select standalone or consolidated or standalone and consolidated from the drop down. Then select limited review report and auditor's report as applicable. The companies are requested to note that the financial year from and to date is auto-populated depending upon the quarter end date selected. Then the companies need to mention the board meeting date and board meeting end time. While submitting the outcome of board meeting in the PDF, on selection of period type as annual or fourth quarter, there is a mandatory option whether the listed entity is a scheduled commercial bank. This disclosure is mandatory for large corporate disclosures in case of annual and fourth quarter submissions. Here, the companies shall select an yes or no depending upon the applicability. If the company selects yes, then no details are required to be provided. But if the company selects no, then the below mentioned fields will be enabled, wherein the company shall fill in the details for outstanding long-term borrowings at the start of the financial year, outstanding long-term borrowings at the end of the financial year, highest credit rating, incremental borrowings done during the year, borrowings by way of issuance of debt securities during the year. All the figures mentioned here are required to be provided in crores. The companies are requested to fill in all these details for large corporate disclosures. Further, we'll come upon another mandatory field, that is whether the listed entity has any subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures. Here, the companies have an option to select yes or no, depending upon their applicability. If no is selected, the company shall disclose in their note section of the financial results that the company does not have any subsidiary, associate, or joint venture for the respective period. In case the company has subsidiary, associates, or joint ventures, or has excluded any such companies for the respective period, and yes is selected, then a detailed reason shall be provided under the reason for non-submission of consolidated financial results. For the reason for non-submission of financial results shall also be provided under the note section of the financial results. The companies can refer to the FAQs issued by the exchange for further clarity. Now we will proceed ahead. Once all the mandatory details are filled and the PDF file is attached, the company can save the draft and submit the PDF. The companies will get a notification displayed on the screen upon successful submission. The companies are requested to check the announcement created on the NSE website. The company should also check that the PDF file includes all the documents required as applicable. With this, we conclude the process of submission of financial results in PDF form. Now, I would like to take you through the process in case of revision or delay in submission of financial results. In case the company has inadvertently missed or has not submitted any documents while uploading financial results under the outcome of board meeting financial results path, please refer to the part under revision of financial results to submit the revised financial results. Further, in case the company does not submit its financial results in accordance with the timelines mentioned under Regulation 33, the company shall disclose a detailed reason and the path mentioned on the screen, that is under delay in submission of financial results. If the decision to delay the results was taken by the company prior to the due date, the company shall disclose a detailed reason for such delay to the stock exchanges within 1 working day of such decision on the below mentioned path. That is the path under decision to delay submission of financial results. Now I will be taking you through the process of filing the integrated filing financial results utility on the NEEPS portal. Before I take you through the process of filing integrated filing utility, we need to consider certain essentials for integrated filing XBRL utility. Firstly, the company shall download fresh and correct utility on the date of submission of the XBRL. Companies shall not copy-paste data in the Excel utility as this may corrupt or prevent validation. The level of rounding off should be selected with the correct denomination and ensure all the financial result sheets in the XBRL utility are filled with the same denomination, except for values such as earning per share, face value, ratios, or percentages. The company should note that the integrated filing utility shall be submitted on the NEEPS portal on the same date as the board meeting in which the financial results are approved. The companies must ensure that the reporting type and quarter and the type of submission, that is standalone or consolidated, are selected correctly. While entering the details of any other line items required to be provided in the XBRL, which do not have specified fields in the utility, the details can be provided in the notes section of the relevant sheets. The companies, while submitting the revised XBRL, shall provide a detailed explanation for the revision in the revision remarks. The company should also note that when the companies are revising the XBRL, they should download and submit the latest utility as on the date of submission. The companies have an option to download the integrated filing financial utility from several paths. The companies can download the utility from the NSE website on the path mentioned on the screen. They can go to this path and then scroll down and download the applicable utility. Then the companies, if they need to download the utility from NEEPS, they can either click on Download XBRL Utilities or click on the Common XBRL Upload tab. For the download XBRL utilities, the company needs to click on Compliance, then Download XBRL Utilities, and the screen mentioned here will pop, wherein they can scroll down and select the utilities as applicable, that is Ind AS, non-Ind AS, banking, and etc. If the companies want to download the XBRL utility from the Common XBRL tab, they shall make appropriate selection and fill in the required details. Select the result type. Depending on the result type, the type of utility will be displayed and they can download this utility from here. Once we have downloaded the utility, we will now move on to filling the XBRL utility. For this purpose, we will be explaining the general info sheet to the companies. Once we open the utility, the companies need to fill in all the mandatory fields, that is the script code, NSE symbol, MSCI symbol, ISIN, name of the company, and type of the company. Under the type of company, the companies have a drop-down, SME or main board. The SME companies are requested to select the option as SME. The company should also note that once they go on a particular section of the utility, they have a hover box which will help them to guide on how to fill in the details of the utility if they have any query. Further, the company need to fill in other details such as start and end of the financial year, date of board meeting, date of prior intimation. Then coming to the level of rounding off, here the companies have options such as lakh, million, billions, and crores. As explained earlier, the companies need to make an adequate selection and fill in all the sheets of the financial results in the same denomination. Further, for the reporting type, SME companies shall select half yearly and the reporting quarter shall be half yearly or yearly. In case of SME companies whose paid up capital is beyond 25 crore shall select the reporting type as quarterly and the reporting quarter as first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter. Then the companies need to select the nature of report, that is standalone or consolidated. The companies need to note that they need to submit the standalone and consolidated XBRL separately in case it is applicable to them. Coming further, the companies can fill in other mandatory details. The companies need to note that the RPT fields shall be enabled only upon selection of the nature of report as standalone and the reporting type as either half yearly, yearly, second, a declaration of unmodified opinion or statement of impact of audit qualification from the drop-down value. Now, once we have explained the utility, we will go ahead with the process of submitting the utility on the NEEPS portal. Upon login into the NEEPS portal, the company shall go to compliance and then the common XBRL upload. Here the company shall select the module as integrated filing and the integrated type as integrated filing financials. For the type of company, the companies have drop-down such as main board and SME/ITP. The SME companies are requested to select SME/ITP from the drop-down. Moving ahead to the period type, for SME companies, they shall select the period type as half yearly and annual. In case of SME companies whose paid up share capital is beyond 25 crores, they shall select the period type as first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter. The search icon here can be used to enter the quarter ended date. The companies need to know that the financial year from and to date is auto-populated depending upon the quarter end date selected. Then the companies need to fill in other mandatory details, that is the date of start of board meeting, end of board meeting, start time of board meeting, and end time of board meeting. The companies need to note that the date and time of the meeting shall be same at all the three places. That is while submitting the PDF, while filling the XBRL utility, as well as while uploading the XML file. Then the company shall select standalone and consolidated first, then move on to select the result type, depending on what is applicable to the company, that is Ind AS or non-Ind AS. Then the companies can proceed with uploading the XML file by clicking on the Upload XBRL tab here. It is advised to upload the standalone XML file by selecting standalone from the dropdown and further upload the consolidated XML file by selecting consolidated from the dropdown as may be applicable to the company. Once the file is uploaded successfully, the company shall get such a notification that the file is uploaded successfully. It has been observed that XMLs are being re-uploaded after the file uploaded successfully prompt appears. Kindly do not attempt to upload the same file again. Also note that if the company faces any error while uploading the XML, they may connect with the exchange official for resolution of the same. Once the file is uploaded successfully, the company shall also ensure to check whether the submission is reflected correctly on the NSE website. Now that we have uploaded the file successfully, if the companies are required to submit the revised XBRL, they can submit the revised XBRL under the same path. The type of submission that is mentioned here is auto-populated, wherein the system detects original or revised submission based on whether it is being submitted for the first time or subsequently. Companies can refer to the FAQs issued by the exchange for cases in which the XBRL is required to be revised. While submitting the revised XBRL, the company is required to provide a detailed explanation for the revision in the revision remarks section. Further, the companies are requested to note to download and submit the latest utilities as on the date of the submission. With this, we come to an end for the submission of integrated filing XBRL utilities. We will now proceed with certain timelines. If the companies have any query in relation with the submission of financial results in case of the PDF, Excel utility or the XML file on the NEEPS portal, the companies can post the same in the Q&A section. The same will be taken up at the end of the section. We can now proceed ahead. There are certain timelines for submission of financial results as per LODR regulations and the FAQs issued by the exchange. The listed entity, subsequent to their listing through initial public offer, shall submit the financial results for the quarter or the financial year immediately succeeding the period for which the financial statements have been disclosed in the offer document. The due date for this submission will be either 45 days or 60 days from the end of the quarter or within 21 days from the date of its listing, whichever is later. There are certain examples issued in the FAQs. We'll take up one example for better understanding of the company. We'll take up the example for half yearly and second quarter submission. Take for an instance, if the date of listing is 22nd October, 21 days from the date of listing will be 12th November. The due date as per regulation 33 is 45 days, that is 14th November. So the later of the two, that is 14th November, will be the due date of submission as per regulation 33 3J. The companies can refer to these examples for better understanding. Proceeding ahead, there are certain provisions applicable for submission of quarterly financial results. In case of SME companies whose paid up share capital increases beyond 25 crores and companies either migrating from SME board to main board and companies listed to scheme of arrangement. We'll take up the first case. So SME companies whose paid up share capital increases beyond 25 crores. As per regulation 280 of SEBI ICDR regulations, the SME companies shall ensure submission of quarterly financial results if their post-issue paid-up capital pursuant to further issue of capital, that is by way of right issue, preferential issue or bonus issue, is likely to increase beyond 25 crores. The due date for this will be if the date of allotment falls during the quarter or after the end of the quarter, but on or before the due date of submission, they shall submit the financials within 45 days or 60 days from the end of the quarter. We'll take up example for this in the next slide. Further, in case of migration from SME board to main board and companies listed to scheme of arrangement, they are required to submit the quarterly financial results. The due date for this shall be if the date of migration or the listing falls during the quarter or after the end of the quarter, but on or before the due date of submission, they shall submit the financials within 45 days or 60 days from the end of the quarter. Moving on to the example, we'll take up one example, that is the first quarter. Take for an instance, if the date of allotment is during the quarter, that is 25th June, in this case, the companies are required to submit the financials for the first quarter. In the next instance, if the date of allotment is after the quarter, but within the due date of submission, that is 14th August, in that case as well, the companies are required to provide the financials for the first quarter. In the third instance, if the date of allotment, that is 25th August, is after the quarter and after the due date of submission, the companies are required to submit the financials for the second quarter, that is the next quarter. With this, we come to an end to the timelines, that is the due dates required to provide financials by SME companies, by companies whose paid up capital increases beyond 25 crores, and companies either migrating or getting listed to the scheme of arrangement. Now we will proceed to certain disclosure of utilization of issue proceeds. If the companies have any issue or any query regarding the timelines that are mentioned here, they can post it in the chat box. We'll take it up at the end of the session. For disclosure of utilization of issue proceeds, this particular provision is applicable only to SME companies who are listed on the NSE Emerge platform with effect from 1st April 2023 and companies whose draft offer document is filed after 8th March 2025. The certification and timeline. The certificate of utilization of the IPO proceeds shall be duly certified by the statutory auditor, required to be submitted along with the financial results until it is fully utilized. The format for this is mentioned under Annexure 14 of SEBI Master Circular. Kindly note that this disclosure shall not apply when a monitoring agency is appointed. Proceeding ahead, the disclosure of utilization of issue proceeds, working capital certificate. This is an additional disclosure requirement only to companies whose draft offer document is filed after 8th March 2025 and whose IPO proceeds for working capital exceeds 5 crores. This is an additional requirement as per the previous file in connection with the previous file. The certification and timeline shall be as follows. If the working capital certificate shall be duly certified by the statutory auditor, this is also to be submitted along with the financial results until the issue proceeds are fully utilized. The format for this shall be same as disclosed in the offer document. This particular format, the companies need to note that they need to provide the working capital certificate in the same format that is disclosed in the offer document. The disclosure shall not apply in case a monitoring agency is appointed. With this, we come to an end to the disclosure requirements of issue proceeds. If the companies have any query, they can post it in the chat box. With this, we come to an end to the submission of financial results on the NEEPS portal, that is the submission of PDF, XBRL utility, financial results utility, and the disclosure requirements for SME companies. We will now proceed with the process of submission of annual report. We will be explaining the process as per Regulation 34 of SEBI LODR regulations. The companies need to note that the company shall submit the annual report on or before the date of dispatch to the shareholders. The company is required to submit the annual report PDF under the annual report tab on the NEEPS portal. And then the company shall submit the annual report XBRL under the common XBRL tab on the NEEPS portal. We will be explaining the process of the PDF XBRL in brief. To submit the annual report PDF, the company shall submit the same under the part displayed on the screen. That is the NEEPS compliance, periodic compliance, annual report submit tab. Further, to submit the XBRL, the company shall submit the annual report in XBRL, that is the AOC4 XML file that is submitted with ROC. The companies can use the same XML file that is submitted with ROC on the part displayed here, that is NEEPS, Compliance, Common XBRL Annual Report. In case the companies have received an ROC extension letter for their AGM, the companies shall submit the same under the below mentioned path. The companies are requested to provide the ROC letter and not the covering letter provided by the company. The companies can submit the same under this path. With this, we come to an end to the submission of annual report. If the companies have queries in relation with the process of submission of annual report, the same can be put up in the chat in the Q&A section. In case the companies have any queries for financial results, they can connect the exchange of in case of their. These details are also available on the NEEPS Help Contact Us tab. If the companies have queries related to SOD or RPT, the companies can connect with that is statement of deviation and related party transactions. They can connect with the persons mentioned here. These details are also available on the NEEPS Contact Us tab. The companies are requested to refer to all the advisory mails sent by the exchange and comply with the same. For the Q&A session, I will hand over to Reema. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Now we will proceed with the Q&A session. So we have received certain queries from the companies. So the first query is with respect to the period wherein the company has asked that for SME for the period ended 31st March 2026, which type should be selected, annually or second half. Here the company is advised that the company can select either of the period. The preferable would be the annual one, wherein the company have to ensure that the period type which has been selected has to be similar to the one which has been selected while filing the PDF. That is the financial results that has been filed in the PDF format. The second query is the time of occurrence of event, wherein while filing the PDF, there is a tab named as time of occurrence of event while submitting the outcome of board meeting. Here the time of occurrence of event is construed as a board meeting end time. So the company, while filing the PDF, has to mention the board meeting end time in the tab time of occurrence of event. The third question is with respect to the where to get the format for submission of financial results in PDF format for half yearly figures and annual figures as well. Okay, so there are certain formats which has been issued by the SEBI, that is through SEBI Master Circular. So through SEBI Master Circular, as well as the company can also refer to the of the Companies Act 2013, wherein the company can find the several formats for filing the financial results. That is the profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. The next query is with respect to the company filed its draft offer document on second. So this is an example wherein the company has stated that wherein the company has filed the draft offer document on 2nd November 2024, but having working capital requirement of more than 5 crores. Do we need to file working capital certificate? So here, wherein the company is offered, as mentioned earlier by Daniel, that is that the company which has been listed after 8th March 2025, so is not required to submit the working capital certificate. So thus, there is no requirement to submit the working capital certificate for those companies whose listing date is prior to 8th March 2025. The next query is with respect to the company being listed on the SME platform on 19 February 2026. Then what will be the timings for filing the financial results? Okay, so in this case, the companies has to file the same within 45 days. So, or 21 days, whichever is later, that is from the date of listing. That is, let's say here the considering, let's say the company is listed through IPO and the company has disclosed the financial results of that particular let's say, for example, I'm giving an example, explaining through example. Let's say the company has disclosed the financial results of September 2025. And in this case, the company, in its offer document, then the company is not required to submit the financial results of September 2025. The company will submit the same in the next particular period, that is for March 2025. And let's say, for example, if the company is listed on 19 Feb 2026, then the company has to submit the March 2026 financials within 21 days or 60 days, whichever is later. Um, I hope I have covered all the queries. Okay, I have one more query with respect to the, let's say, uh, just a second. So, here the query is with respect to the disclosure of statement impact of disclosure or declaration of unmodified opinion. Okay, so in that case, if say for the fourth quarter it is mandatory, not for all the fourth quarter or second half year ended. So in case the company is submitting the first half year ended or first quarter or the other second or third quarters, it is not mandatory to disclose the statement impact or declaration of unmodified opinion. It is only mandatory in case of fourth quarter or second half year ended period. So here, if in case the company is submit the statement impact of unmodified opinion from the drop down that is in the general info sheet, and or else in case of modified opinion or else unmodified opinion is provided, then the company is required to disclose the declaration of unmodified opinion from the drop down list. Accordingly, the company can submit the same. Once the company selects as per the applicability, the sheet will get enabled for the submission of statement impact of unmodified statement impact of qualified opinion or declaration of unmodified opinion. Query is with respect to the DIN, wherein DIN or the other details with respect to the signatories. So the query is, you have mentioned that the name designation name should there in the signatory of financial statements. But for CS, what should we mention? So wherein as per regulation 33, it is very much clear that the financial results has to be duly signed or certified by the authorized signatories that are specified by under regulation 33, that is whole time director, chairman of the meeting or chairman, or that is our managing director, but or any person which has been authorized by the board in its board meeting. So in this case, the requirement of the DIN or the other details with respect to the directors is only in that scenario. So for this company secretary, it is not required because company secretary as if is not authorized to sign the financials. The company secretary can only sign the covering letter. Rest all has to be signed by the authorized signatories as mentioned under regulation 33. The next query is with respect to the due date if submission of monitoring agency report whose paid up capital is less than 25 crores. So here, just a second, this query will be answered by Daniel D'Souza.
So we have received a query related to the due date for submission of monitoring agency report whose paid up capital is less than 25 crores. So the monitoring agency can be appointed by the companies on voluntary basis. So if they are appointing a monitoring agency, then they can provide the monitoring agency report and they are not required to provide the disclosure of utilization of issue proceeds.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. So the next query is with respect to the whether we can file digitally signed auditor's report or financials. Yes, the company can file the financials which have been digitally signed by the directors or the auditors.
We have received one more query from the company in relation with the annual report XBRL submission. If their company faces any error while submitting the annual report XBRL and they report the query to us, there is no late fees for this submission. We will consider the submission and the exchange will resolve the issue. If the companies have any more queries, the companies can drop us a mail at listingfr@nsc.co.in. We will resolve the errors or any queries of the company over the email. By this, we can come to an end of this session. The companies are advised to refer to all the advisory mails sent by the exchange and refer to the guidelines and FAQs also issued by the exchange. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.